You're listening to Mile High Insiders with Nick Kendell and Luke Patterson. Head on over to milehighhuddle.com for all things Broncos. Now, it's time to find out what's going on behind the walls of UC Health Training Center.
Can't see. We're both wearing the Mile High Insiders hats with the gray t-shirt. At least, you got the long sleeves on. It's cold in Colorado. That's right. I'm sorry, you Colorado folks. It's like 80 degrees here in Seattle. The sun is out. It's been sunny all week. I know. I think the Seattle folks are full of it. It's rainy here. They just don't want people to move out here. It's gorgeous. I love it. Speaking of loving it, Saturday night, Mile High Insiders. Luke, it's good to have you back on Saturday, man. Missed you. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, man. I've been excited to talk all day with you, man, and excited to be on MHI because it's a long transition from like Tuesday to when you guys covered Saturday, and then I'm just kind of waiting and chomping at the bit, watching everybody's show. And speaking of watching everybody's show, we've got Robert Caslow in the house saying what's up. A good friend of the show, Dylan Von Arks, always in the house going, what's up, Broncos country? CC, I see ya. Love the picture, by the way. And David Bingaman, I know Stu McPeak's in the house. Jay, I see ya. Mo Ron, David Bingaman, and Bingaman. I hope I said that right. But no, we got a good show for you guys. Nick, we've been chirping each other all week. I love talking football with you. I love razzing you. You love razzing me. We get after each other, and it's always great because it's never personal. It's always about sports. And the thing that you and I are constantly saying is if we all agreed, that would suck, and that would be boring. So one hot topic of contention that is going on with Broncos country right now is, of course, the latest news from the NFLPA in which some players for the Denver Broncos actually spearheaded a campaign in which they said, we do not want to participate in voluntary OTAs. Now, some of those concerns are based off that funny little bug Carl's daughter's always talking about and trying to get policies and procedures established. We heard from Brandon McManus this week. And today we heard about a few players that are definitely going in, some big names and some other names that we're wondering about and definitely have some incentives to come into. So I certainly want to get at that. But dude, it's awesome to be here on Saturday night. It's 80 degrees there. It's chilly here. And I'm ready to get things going, man. I'm pumped to be here. We're back.
Yeah, Saturdays, I'm feeling myself. I went disc golfing today for the first time in a while with some friends. It's beautiful. And hashtag Nick's Beer Fun going on. I can't show it on the thing, but I got to pour myself a cold one here. But yeah, really happy to be here. A cold pop, an adult beverage. We really appreciate it. How's life in Chaz? I'm in North Seattle, so I have not dealt with Chaz very much, but when I've been down there, things seem fine. I love Seattle. It's a beautiful city. Go Broncos from Sebastian Dispo coming in here. We got David Darlington in the house. Dahan is in the house. Glenn Hauser. Glenn, how you doing? Obviously, we said CC. So yeah, it's time for some Saturday football. Before we get going, though, we probably should say a hello to our presenting sponsors because without them, I don't know if we'd be here.
They've got our back all the time. And of course, I am talking about Manscaped. You are talking about Manscaped, products that we use on a regular basis. So before we get into the heart of today's show, today's presenting sponsor is Manscaped. So listen up, fellas, 2020, it sucked. We get it, but it's 2021 now, which means it's time to embrace that new year, new me mindset. And the best way to start cultivating that is with Manscaped. Now listen up, Manscaped, it's the best in men's below the waist grooming, offering precision engineered tools for your family jewels, helping 2 million men around the world keep their male grooming on point. So look, guys, if you let yourself go in 2020 while in quarantine, we get it. Manscaped, they're here for you. They've got your back to reboot and stay clean and shaven in 2021.
Yeah, guys, obviously they have so many great products. Right now, things are still a little bit disarray after the move, but I got my Manscaped, just a little to-go travel kit right here, and it's got everything. I've already used the fingernail clippers and the tweezers multiple times. I haven't had a yard before, so I've been out in the yard, and I've been kind of, out there raw dogging it. No gloves or anything. I got a splinter. So I had to pull out the tweezers. And I was like, God, where the hell are these things? The Manscaped had me covered. They have you covered in so many ways. Obviously, they have the Lawnmower 3.0, which has a third-generation trimmer and even has a light to illuminate those hard-to-see spots, which the days are getting longer, but still, you want to make sure you can see those hard-to-see spots. Because if you're messing around down south, you don't want to make a mistake. I mean, that goes true for life. If you're south of the border, you don't want to get caught up. So make sure you check those out. Obviously, they also have the anti-chafing boxer briefs, which are great. I have a backpacking trip 1 month from today. Obviously, there's a Saturday coming up where you guys are going to fill for me. I haven't missed a show in a while, but I'm going to make sure I have my Manscaped anti-chafing boxer briefs because if you've been in the backcountry, and had any chafing issues when you're walking miles and miles and miles, you're not going to have a good time. You're not going to have a good time. So Manscaped's got you covered there too.
Well, and that's the thing, Nick. I mean, things are starting to open up a little bit more with the weather being warmer. People want to get outside on the trails, even for a walk in the park, something like that. Manscaped, they've got your back. So you're coming out of quarantine into this new spring season, well-groomed below the waist with the Lawnmower 3.0. Now, this waterproof and skin-safe trimmer will reduce nicks to your two best little friends. The third-generation trimmer even has that light to illuminate those hard-to-see spots in 2021. Now, Nick, you talked about this. Manscaped, they've even thrown in their Shed travel bag to keep all those goodies stored. We absolutely love it. And speaking of comfort, those anti-chafing boxer briefs, those stay on point, and they are also included and are hands down the best underwear that you will ever wear. So while we understand that 2020 was awful, Manscaped is here to make sure your boys are fresh and ready for new beginnings in 2021. So embrace that new year, new me mindset with Manscaped. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code HUDDLE at manscaped.com. Your family jewels will thank you.
100%. Let's get back to the chat here real quick, just to say hello to everybody in here. We got Richie Rich in the house saying, Nick and Luke, hope you're doing well. Richie Rich, hope you're doing well as also. And you asked earlier, when are the Broncos for breakfast show is going to be? Tuesdays and Thursdays at 8 a.m. Mountain Time. So just in time for the driving here. We got David Crespin coming in here with a lovely family, it looks like. What's up, Broncos country? David, what's up to you and yours? We got Brandon Lewis saying hello for the first time.
Breakfast with Bronc. I didn't even know y'all were doing that. I pull up the other day, and then you got Kennedy and Kendall on there, you know, some K&K action. And I'm like, all right, let's do it. Let's get at it. I absolutely love it. Be sure to check that out, guys. That is huge. And one friend I wanted to say hello to was Chris Hart, who's in here. He's a dear friend of mine and yours. We go back and forth with Chris all the time. I know Chris just celebrated a birthday, so happy belated birthday, Chris. Hope you and the family are doing well. Glenn Hauser, I'm gonna get on my little rant real quick. Saying, what's up, Luke? How's the Peloton? I just got a Peloton. I joined a cult. Absolutely love it. Like on day 6 today in a row. So I'm trying to go for a 6 weeks challenge and absolutely love it, man. And Nick, while I'm on the Peloton and 70-year-old ladies are passing me, I cannot help what it would feel like. I just can't help but wonder what it would feel like to show up for a workout and get paid. And that is what we're looking at with the Broncos, right?
Good transition. I'm sorry. I have to sit back. Good job.
Do you like that? I didn't want to be Peloton. I don't want to be Peloton guy yet. I assume I'm going to transition into that guy in the near future, but I'm trying for everyone's sake to just hang in there. But thanks, man. I appreciate that. But Nick, some players have some money on the line, and that is always a reason to show up to workouts. We got some news today on some of those players. What are you hearing?
I know that Graham Glasgow, Drew Lock, Von Miller, and a few others are in the house in Dove Valley getting the workouts in. It's mostly just kind of weightlifting stuff, conditioning stuff going on. And a lot of these players, would they be there? Would they not be there? A lot of it is tied directly to their current contracts. So I'm not making a big deal about it. You know, they're not showing up. Their teammates, the guys who said they're not going to be there, and they're also not. I don't think they're probably that upset at the players who aren't there either. Granted, you know, I'm not asking Von Miller, hey, what's going on? But when there's money involved, when there's a good chunk of change on the table for you to be there, you're going to show up. I mean, it is what it is. And we got a lot of teams right now opting out of these voluntary workouts. I know that the old head in me says that, man, that probably is a bit of a detriment to this team. Obviously, still a young offense. They can use all the reps they can get, but it's not like they're missing down the lines or they're actually getting out there with reps. It's conditioning stuff. And I think this is just taking advantage of the situation and pushing for change, which felt like it was coming down the tracks anyway.
I agree. And Nick, I just want to get back to football, buddy. That's it, man. I just want to get back to football. I'm tired of second guessing personal decisions for players. I'm tired of wondering about what ethical decisions, moral responsibilities, who's popping off what on Twitter and the politically charged statements, but it's there. I mean, you'd be ignorant to pretend that it wasn't there. But Nick, I just want to get back to football. I think these guys do too. And after hearing Brandon McManus talk about it on the Fan, I think he presents himself very well. And Nick, I've never seen a kicker get the type of power and respect that Brandon McManus has, not only amongst his teammates, but kind of sounds like among the league with the NFLPA. Really, really interesting. What do you make of the outspoken Broncos kicker that does a lot of great work for the Denver community and is obviously a Super Bowl 50 champ along with his BFF, Von Miller?
Yeah, it really is pretty interesting to see a specialist get the power that he has right now. And that's also something, I mean, good for him, right? That's somebody like he's in a position where he could play for the next 10, 15 years, probably. It does put his, head on a chopping block if things go south. Obviously, he has the big contract right now. So let's say that, he starts missing some kicks. He's somebody that you think the team would probably move on from pretty quickly. Given everything that's surrounding him, he's somebody that's outspoken, like you've said. And if things go south, goodbye. We don't want all that here. But I'm always very, very much for player empowerment. It's billionaires paying millionaires. So when people are like, oh, why did this player leave the team? Well, I don't feel that bad for that player trying to maximize their earnings for the limited window they have. Go make what you can while you can, because your window is going to be closed before you even know it. So I'm all about it. And Brandon McMahon is speaking out. He seems like an intelligent dude. I know he does a lot of work in the community as well. So I don't have an issue with it. I know there will be some old heads, things changing. We don't love that, but times always change, right? And it's not so much that things are changing. It's how can you get a competitive advantage now that things are changing in the league, because that's where you can make the difference, right? Even if it's just marginal, if you can get a competitive advantage, if that's Drew Lock organizing the receivers and getting the reps in, or the offensive line taking a week somewhere like Lake Tahoe, getting some skiing in, protect those knees, boys. But doing something safe like that, getting reps in, those are the areas where you're going to need to get that competitive advantage, because they're not going to be doing lifting. And also it shifts the onus of responsibility to the individual players. More so than the team, right? You need guys that are doing the work, because they're not going to be as responsible outside the facility.
What's up, Bob Skinner? I see you. Mohammed Badri, male model for MHH. I see you. Glenn, we've given you a shout out. Todd, I see you. Brandon Lewis. And let's get to some supers. And speaking of Mohammed Badri with a $5 super, starting out the show right. Appreciate you so much. With Braun and the Smooth Killer in the house. I saw that new profile picture. He did some artwork to it where it's almost like clayed out on Facebook. It's pretty dope. Be sure to check it out, Nick. But Mo, an awesome friend of the show. But before we get going too many supers, I want to plug our latest article that Chad Jensen wrote regarding this topic on milehighhuddle.com. Brian Greenfield in the house with a $10 super chat. Thank you so much, Brian. We've missed you. Hope things are going well. But regarding this conversation, Nick, about who's showing up and why they're showing up, Chad Jensen wrote at milehighhuddle.com in one of the latest articles that has been dropped. Von Miller stands to earn a cool $500,000 for showing up this next week, with Graham Glasgow set to take home $100,000 and Dalton Risner with $75,000. Now, starting quarterback, at least for now, an incumbent, Drew Lock is also slated to have a $75,000 workout bonus. So I think we could assume that those players are probably going to be around the building. Not that they haven't been already, right? We know Drew Lock has been there. George Payton's told us that. I'm sure Dalton Risner's been there. I'm sure there are a ton of Broncos in the buildings that we don't even know about, because George Payton has those doors just sealed up, Nick. You can't get anything out of that building.
Yeah, the only thing that seems to be getting out of that building right now is that the Broncos do seem to be interested in moving up for a quarterback, but we'll see what happens there. It takes two to tango, but that's about it. So we've got a couple questions here. What am I drinking right now? I don't want to go too down the given specifics, but Georgetown Brewery, drink local if you have a chance. I don't know if you're a more of a Budweiser or Miller kind of guy, Luke, but when I get a chance, I'm a drink local kind of guy.
Yeah, no, I definitely became a beer snob with one of my roommates, Fraser Downing, who actually I started off my very first podcast back when I was terrible, and not that I'm any better, but I started this podcast with Fraser, and he's one of those brewing your own microbrews guys. He's designed the mechanical engineering canning line at Upslope Brewery, so I love microbrews as well. But if I'm just drinking the water, Bill, I got to dilly it. I mean, it's just. That's how I'm going to roll. But let's get things going, because I see Mr. Boggins in the house, and he's always staying on things. He's in one of those MHRT cats. I saw Mundungus Creevy on Huddle Up the other night, which was dope. So shout out to Mr. Boggins and the MHRT crew. So with the $4.99 super, Troy Rank, Denver 7's own, is stating that the Broncos have yet to try and move up to 4. I think if Peyton makes a move, it'd be on draft day. I think he likes Fields, who will go 3. Nick, this is a conversation that I had with my wife when she's asking, is Drew Lock going to be the starting quarterback? And I'm like, I don't know. Ask a million different people. You're going to get a million different answers. George Paton, we don't know which quarterback he likes. We're trying to figure out which quarterbacks are going to fall. What would you say to Mr. Boggins, and wondering when a move would be made on George Paton's behalf and for which quarterback?
Well, I mean, it is BS season, so what we could be hearing could be complete, just not true. But I've heard that the Broncos are not as interested in Mac Jones, but they would be interested in a Justin Fields or a Trey Lance. I think that's pretty well known by now. It's not groundbreaking news, but that's what's been out there. So it really depends on what happens at 3. There's still, I know that the Vegas money line has been going towards Justin Fields, but there's still a lot of people more in the know than myself that say, you know what, like, that's because people are betting on that. That's what the public believes, but people in the know are still saying Mac Jones at 3. So we'll see what happens at 3. I think the Broncos would have traded up by now if they knew what the 49ers were going to do. I do think that the Broncos, at least the coaches specifically, have their eyes on Fields. So if they knew Fields would be there at 4, I think they might have traded up to 4 by now. But I think it's more likely that they're waiting to see how the board falls, and then they can reassess what the cost is. And I think George Paton is also trying to hold on to that 2022 first for all he can. Like, if he can move up for a quarterback without giving up that 2022 first, I think it would have happened by now. But right now, I think the cost is probably, and earlier costs tend to have a higher price, or earlier trades tend to have a higher price. So I think they're waiting. And if you do see a trade, it will be on draft day, as Mr. Bakken says. But, it'll be interesting. I've heard Cincinnati is really interested in Chase. That's who Joe Burrow has been campaigning for there. Maybe the Dolphins are a team you can trade up with. I do worry that if you get beyond the Dolphins, then you're in a danger zone where the teams like the Patriots, the Bears, and the Washington football team could trade up, right? Like, that's like 7, 8. That scares me. So I'd rather hopefully they trade up 4, 5, 6, because then you can go get your guy without having to compete for those other teams that might just toss other first round picks. But we'll see. We're 10 days left, 11 days left. But I do think that the Broncos have a real chance to go up for a quarterback. Depends on what happens at 3, though.
Yeah, quarterback, man, that's really, really tough. And then everybody, of course, wondering what's going on with the Atlanta Falcons. And I don't anticipate them making a deal with anyone until draft day. It just doesn't make sense at this point. So all eyes are going to stay on Atlanta. I wrote an article where John Clayton said that on milehighhuddle.com that he actually projected Trey Lance there. Now, he didn't do a mock draft in which there were trades. So in theory, this was a mock draft where Trey Lance actually fell. We've seen other mock drafts where Justin Fields has fallen. Mac Jones, I'm really, really, I don't know where to go on this, Nick, because you got Adam Schefter, who's one of the most connected people in the league, saying it's going to be Mac Jones, someone who's got deep Shanahan ties, especially with his days in Denver. I'm also wondering, there's no way that would be some sort of a smokescreen move by the Niners with Schefter, because he just has way too much integrity, I think, to ever try to pull a move like that. So I'm torn on Mac Jones. I don't know where he's going to go. It's definitely, being rumored that quarterbacks could go 1, 2, 3, and 4. And I just don't know who George Paton loves, if he loves any of these quarterbacks.
Yeah, I mean, I think he likes a good chunk of these quarterbacks. Let's just assume Trevor Lawrence and Zach Wilson are not available, right? Like, that just seems like to be the writing on the wall. It's going 1 and 2. But if Mac Jones doesn't go 3, then, you have a chance to really get a guy. But in my heart of hearts, I think it's going to be Trey Lance still at 3. That's who was originally linked there. I mean, his ability in that wide zone scheme. And I think once the Monday pro day, second pro day, whatever you want to call it, showcase throwing session, because they can't visit the facilities like they used to in the past because of the sick little bug. I think you're going to see money swing towards Trey Lance. I think it's Trey Lance. I think he's the guy there. And then you have a chance for the Broncos moving up to 4, 5, or 6 for Justin Fields, which I can't say specifically for personnel or Peyton. I do think that the Broncos coaches prefer Fields over Lance. But we'll see. We've talked about this 100 times. I like all the top 4 quarterbacks. And if I could get any of them, I'm going to be as happy as a pig in mud, because I think all 4 have a special chance, or a chance to be special talents in this league. And I would swing on any of them. And it's not even about Drew Lock. It's about those individual players and how good they are.
And that's your truth. And I like that, because I think it's okay to like more than one guy. I mean, good Lord, it took me a little while, and I am fully warmed up on Trey Lance. Now, if Justin Fields is sitting there and the Broncos pass on him, I'm always going to be wondering and second guessing if that's another Josh Allen scenario, just like everybody else. But, you know, if they win another player, I think I'd be okay too. But that's part of it, not knowing. And it's really, really weird. But I want to get to some comments here. But before I do, Nick, I want to give you a shout out, man. I want to give you a huge shout out because something that John found out, and I'm going to say on his behalf, this show's called the Mile High Insiders. And it's not called that just because it's a cute little name with a Colorado flag. Nick's been in this business for a little bit. I've been in this business for a little bit. We both have contacts that we check in with. Some things we're allowed to say, other things we're not allowed to say. And some of those things we don't even share with each other. But Nick, you were retweeted by the Denver Broncos this week because Pat Shurmur was at Justin Fields Pro Day, and he was giddy. Absolutely giddy. I've never seen Pat Shurmur smile until that very moment. Props, dude. Denver Broncos, man. They saw you. They saw you keeping an eye on grouchy Pat Shurmur, and Pat Shurmur certainly seemed impressed and excited and just over the top with Justin Fields.
Yeah, I mean, he's a special talent. You know, would you compare him to Deshaun Watson on the field? Maybe Ryan Tannehill, maybe somebody like RG3 pre-injury. I mean, there are questions there. There's never a exact path. I mean, there's a world where Trevor Lawrence busts, right? You just never know until you actually see it. But I think Justin Fields is a special talent. And if you can get him, you know, giddy up. We got a chance. And this is a good one here. It's kind of a little bit off topic, but I wanted to say hello to Mitch, man. Haven't seen him around these parts that much. But over on YouTube, he said, hey, Nick, and also to Luke here, would be interested in knowing about that Chad and Zach and you debate show off. Luke can get in there too. I just know that I feel like Chad and Zach are like really high on Drew Lock and Micah Parsons. And that's just not A, what I've heard, speaking of insiders, and B, what I think the Broncos are going to do. But it would be interesting. And
talk to me about this. I'm so out of the loop with all your guys' beat. You got a new show I don't know about. You got debates going on. I know that Chad and, like you said, Zach seem, okay with Drew Lock, and I'm all right with that. I like Mike Parsons, shocker. But dang it, if we're talking about looking for another quarterback, that is happening, folks. It's not a lie. Yeah. It's not some crazy rumor. It's not pie in the sky. George Payton has said ad nauseum that, he hasn't said it, but he said early on, we're going to add to the quarterback room. Hasn't happened. We've heard rumors about the Broncos being in on certain deals. Now, we talked about Troy Rank a little bit ago. Troy Rank's been echoing the past 2 weeks on the airwaves that at least 2 teams wanted Drew Lock. I think one of those were the Lions, whether they did or not, whatever. I think it's the Lions. The other team, I'm not so sure because I don't see another team really, really wanting to go after a Drew Lock and just pick up the phone and say, hey, Broncos, we love Drew and we have a feeling that you want to move on for him. So here's a 6th round pick. Here's a 5th round pick. I don't see that happening, Nick. A 4th for Drew Lock, for a guy that's a turnover machine, for a guy that doesn't know how to fall down without hurting himself. You've got to be kidding me.
Quarterbacks, man. Quarterbacks have high value, and Drew Lock still has 2 years left of control, and there are tools there. And I've heard that the team that I've heard linked with him is actually the Philadelphia Eagles. So we'll see there. If the Broncos do end up getting a quarterback, look out for the Philadelphia Eagles. That's a team that I've heard connected to him. Jalen Hurts versus Drew Lock camp battle kind of thing. So we'll see.
Jalen Hurts all day. You just get rid of Carson Wentz. And now you're going to do this crap with Jalen Wentz. Give me a break. Philly being Philly. And
they're going to be bad this year. They're a team that is set up to go after a quarterback next year. 3 first-round picks, right? Is that what they're set up for next season or something like that? Like they're a team that, like, if they can get it lightning in a bottle with either Hurts or Lock, God bless. They can be really flexible, but they're a team that is, I've been talking about it as like a poker kind of, like they have enough chips to buy into the big boys table, which is getting a quarterback, whether that be trading up or going out and getting to Russell Wilson and Deshaun Watson, Matt Ryan. I mean, who knows? So we'll see. And we got Michael Clark coming in here. This is a different one, Mundungus. What's going on here? Breaking news.
That's your government name. Government name, Mundungus. I love it. I think we're growing. I think Mike's growing up. He's going by his government name.
But then he says Iowa still sucks. So that one hurts. I don't like that. Let's appreciate that. Let's say Denver does not move up for a quarterback. Peyton has said that Denver will bring in some quarterback competition. So what are our options at that point? I have heard that if the Broncos bring in Trey Lance, Foles or Alex Smith is an option. Same with Fields. If you don't see them bring in a quarterback, it's probably more Teddy Bridgewater. And it sounds like the people in the Broncos room would expect Teddy Bridgewater to win that camp battle.
Yeah, my boy Ian St. Clair and I were talking about that yesterday, and it's one of those things where Play Colorado actually has the odds with Teddy Bridgewater coming to Denver as the front runner. So, man, I don't know. Teddy covers. Teddy Two Gloves, whatever you want to call him. I'm not high on that. But I think that's really what you got, because I think the Broncos, this shows how much the Broncos were into Deshaun Watson, that they've been left with very limited options. But I don't think George Payton is willing to panic. I think he's got his poker face on. I think he's trying to figure out what's going on. I don't think he's playing games with himself. I think he's trying to figure things out. It's his first year. He's really, really leaning on Mike Shula, Brian Stark, some of the cats that are already in the building, but it's going to be tough. I don't know how the quarterback situation is going to be resolved. I mean, Jeff Driscoll, why are you still on the team, guy? Brett Rippon, love the acumen, the noodle arm. I'm sorry, we just can't get it there. That's the only thing. But Todd is in the house. Todd Ostendorf, appreciate you joining MHI on your Saturday night. Nick, what position do the Broncos need to address in the first to third round that, if passed on, likely won't be addressed in the draft? An interesting question. So we're looking at first between rounds 1 and 3, a position in need, and possibly one that could be a little bit of a surprise, something that could fall. What do you think?
I'm going to go edge rusher. Edge rusher is a position that this Broncos team is lined up for them to use a premium resource on it. However, the data suggests that, you guys need to step away from the Broncos lens here for a second. Data suggests if you don't take an edge rusher in the first couple of rounds, you're not going to hit. And I know the Broncos have recently, Malik Reed, Shaquille Barrett, undrafted free agents. Know that that's an anomaly. Those two guys getting production out of undrafted free agents as an edge rusher just doesn't happen. It's really rare. And the fact the Broncos have found 2 of them recently is incredible. So I think that is a position where if they don't get a guy in the first through third round, maybe it's one that you punt until 2022. In 2022, obviously things can change, but 2022 looks to have a very talented edge rusher class at the top. So that's one. I mean, if you're taking Derek Tuska, we took him 7th round last year. It's just such a position based on the haves or the have-nots with athletic traits. It's why it's a position that doesn't bust that often, or you don't find guys later on in the draft, because the guys who do hit are obvious ones. They have these athletic thresholds, they're freaks, and that freak athleticism more often than not translates.
Absolutely. Well, and here's the thing, man. Cam's coming in, firing his hot take. I absolutely love it. And he's saying, look, didn't Drew Lock outperform Teddy Bridgewater last year? And of course, Cam, I love the hot take.
Yeah. Beautiful picture too. I can't tell where he's at, but it looks like he summited some mountain or on a wing of a plane. Like, be safe, Cam. What's going on?
I love it, Cam. You were right. Now, Drew Lock and the Broncos won last year. That was Drew Lock's, one of his best game. I know the Chargers game was a comeback and everything like that, but let's be honest, Chargers defense had some weird injuries. That was KJ Hamler's best game. Mama Hamler let us know. It's just one of those things for me, man, where I need more than 1 or 2 performances out of my quarterback. Yes. And Teddy Bridgewater, he just kind of checked down Teddy. We've been that route. Case Keenum, we don't need that. Brock Osweiler in his second tour. I don't need that retread quarterback. But you're right, Nick. You're not telling lies out of school. I mean, it's Alex Smith, it's Nick Foles, who I would throw up if the Broncos brought him in here, and then Teddy Bridgewater. I'd take Teddy Bridgewater and then Alex Smith and then re-sign Kyle Sloter that the Raiders just released before I ever went after Nick Foles.
Yeah, Gardner Minshew also a name to watch out for. We'll see. But Locke did outperform Bridgewater in that game. That's true. But the thing with Bridgewater versus Locke is high variance, right? Like, he had that great game against Carolina, and then he had just an absolute, take a liquid defecation on the back porch kind of thing against the Buffalo Bills, right? Just absolutely horrible. Like, 3 picks dropped. And that Bills game was just sad. I don't even know what else to say. It was terrible.
Embarrassing.
That's the biggest thing. I think the Broncos also a very defensive oriented team. They have weapons. If you can get a guy that can just protect the football, like the bare minimum, protect the football, move the chains, and not keep the defense in bad situations like Drew Lock did multiple times last season, I think that's the direction this team would go. Even if you're not going to get the explosive output like you would with Drew Lock, I think they would go for the more consistent thing. And it's turnovers, man. You cannot turn the ball over like Drew Lock has so far in his career in the NFL and in college. I mean, you just cannot put the ball in harm's way, right? This is a defensive-oriented team. Vic Fangio has very little hair left, right? Like, we cannot get that man pure bald, right? He's going to look like one of his gosh darn meatballs here pretty soon if he loses any more hair, and that's coming from the turnovers. So look out.
Yeah, he's already shredded weight, and coach looks freaking great. We don't need him losing any hair. He lost all that weight, and he looks fantastic. So let's get Glenn back up there if we can.
That's awesome, though, Cam. That is coming in. Antarctica. Take me with, buddy. That's a really cool.
Wow. So McMurdo Station, I'm not sure if that's the same station. I used to be a firefighter for a little bit, and I know that there was a 6 to 9 month program where you could go down there as a firefighter EMT and work. And all you crazy scientists like yourself with those big brains are down there. And so I'm not sure if that's in reference to that, but if it is, that's super, super cool. Glenn Hauser coming in with a $4.99 super. Appreciate the support from one of those MHRT boys. Nick, are you hearing Drew would be part of a trade to move up? I want to be certain that would be the case. Hashtag I love the show. Hashtag Peloton Luke. Hashtag Flapjacks with Nick. Absolutely love it. Glenn, I got to know. You must be on the Peloton. If so, get at me. Don't tread on me, LP, because I need you to push me. But Nick, answer Glenn's question here, man. Drew Lock, I've seen scenarios where he's been involved. Now, I don't like it because one of them is with the Lions, right? Saying that the Broncos try to trade up to the Lions. That didn't work, right? They're like, I don't think it's going to work this time. Do you see a scenario where Drew Lock is involved in a trade up for the Broncos to possibly go get the quarterback that they deem their new future?
I do not think so. Everything that I've heard is that Drew Lock would be dealt secondary to obtaining that new young quarterback. And the Broncos would also bring in a veteran. I don't know if that's the route that I would go personally, just because I want as many, shots as possible, right? Like if I have 3 bullets, that's much better than having 2 or 1.5, whatever the young quarterback is. But it does sound like it would be, you get the young quarterback, you bring in a vet, and Lock is probably sent elsewhere because there's only so many reps to go around. But you never know, right? Like Lock, it's not that I think Lock has a chance to be a solid quarterback. Top 10 perennially, I would bet against it, what we've seen so far. But he still has value, especially on his rookie contract. And somebody else out there, this is a desperate league, right? Like if the Broncos were picking 20th overall, this would be a totally different conversation. But a team like the Bears signing Andy Dalton, I would want Drew Lock, right? Like that's another shot. Or if I was the Washington football team, I would want Drew Lock. But that's not the case where the Broncos are right now. They're picking 9 in a class with 4 incredible talents. If you can go get one, go get one.
I agree, and I'm just going to ask you point blank. Do you want to trade Drew Lock?
If you bring in like Trey Lance or Justin Fields and you can bring back a 4th round pick and clear up reps, developmental reps for that young quarterback, it's not that I'd want to, but I think it's probably the most feasible. It's probably the most feasible thing.
Sure, you'd be willing to. You're not actively looking to move the guy. And I want to see him here too. I want to see, dude, what you look like in a number 2 role. I want to know if you're hungry. I want to know if you're going to get after it. Yeah, you're in the building. We get all that. I don't care. You should be in the building. You're a quarterback. Tom Brady's eating freaking avocado ice cream, going to be 45 years old. It's a lifestyle. And Trevor Lawrence has been getting beat up for all his comment. Give me a break, dude. I'm not saying Trevor Lawrence is going to go out there and walk on water with Jacksonville in his first year, but the guy's a great quarterback, at least in college. He definitely has a good shot at succeeding in the NFL. And speaking of 100%. Taking shots, there's those crazy eyes from Adam Gase. Space Gase coming in with a $4.99 super. Appreciate you so much, buddy. It's been a minute. Denver sports media would be bonkers if we had a rookie quarterback / lock quarterback competition. Nick, you remember it wasn't too long ago that you had the decision with the Broncos, right? Then you had the decision 2.0. And man, could we be looking at another one of those deals where you got a rookie quarterback that's coming in to challenge a Drew Lock? And what does that look like when some players aren't even going to be in the building because they don't want to do these voluntary OTAs? I mean, it's a question I have for you and everybody else. He's a 20-year-old prospect. He's raw. I love his talent. He needs time. He needs a little bit of work. What do you say to Base Gase there with a rookie lock competition?
Like I said earlier, I think the Broncos would bring in an Alex Smith or Nick Foles to kind of buy yourself a little bit of time as a bridge to that other quarterback. But a lock versus rookie quarterback competition, I mean, iron sharpens iron, right? Like I think you need to take as many shots as possible at the quarterback position.
DeMarcus Ware drop right there from Nick Kendell. Right? Iron sharpens iron. I love it.
So I would have no issue with it. I think it'd be a lot of fun to watch. And you talked about it being the decision. I mean, you're talking about Paxton Lynch, it should have been pretty apparent to that team pretty quickly that he was not going anywhere. Elway, at the combine, I asked Elway point blank, have you changed anything about your evaluation process since drafting Paxton Lynch, who has not worked out so far? And he's like, I think Paxton Lynch has worked out great. Like, looked at me, lied to my face. Elway, what are you doing? At the combine, really upset. He was not happy with me, I don't think. But oh man, that was talk about a childhood hero, like telling you, no, Nick, you're wrong. Okay, I'm sorry.
I was happy when he knew my name in the elevator one day. I was like ready to wet myself. If he was glaring at me with those 7 eyes, I don't know, man. Good cheers to you. That's a tough situation,
I asked him
buddy.
A tough question, but he retorted quickly. But anyway, it's different, right? Like talking about Trevor Siemian versus Paxton Lynch, I think that's much different than talking about a top 10 pick at quarterback and a second round pick with tools and Drew Lock, right? Like that's a different situation. You're talking about, God, how do I like B tier, C tier, D tier versus A tier, right? You have it's a much more interesting situation, much better talent than what you'd be dealing with earlier. So we got Mr. Boggins coming in here to Pacific Northwest. Hopefully Mr. Boggins and I, once we're fully vaccinated, or both of us are fully vaccinated and my wife is fully vaccinated, we can meet up here, maybe do a hike, maybe get some brewskis out in Seattle. If Locke was the Chefs QB, would you be worried? Honestly,
Chiefs
no.
quarterback.
That's I just said Chefs. That's just autocorrect in my brain. I wouldn't be. The Chiefs.
That's because he's a turnover machine. Drew Lock is a chef. He's a chef at making turnovers. You knew that. It was just a quick little slot there. But dude. Yeah. All right, Mr. Boggins, I see you, and I see where you're coming from, because you got to think Lock, right? He wanted to be Philip Lindsay's dream. He wanted to have that, play for the hometown team. Well, they got themselves a quarterback that ain't going anywhere. And, what would you think, I guess, if Drew Lock ended up with the Chiefs, second quarterback to Patrick Mahomes?
That would be something totally different. But if, let's say, in a reality where, like, let's say Mahomes doesn't exist and Drew Lock so far, what we've seen was the Chiefs quarterback as their QB1, I wouldn't be worried, right? Like, quarterback is 33% of your roster, right? Like, as far as output and value. If you don't have a quarterback, good freaking luck. Like, nobody in the media is going to say, like, oh, if you don't have a quarterback, pack it up, we'll see you next year. But that's the reality of it in today's NFL. Unless you have an all-time coach, some units out there, defense, et cetera. If you don't have a quarterback, punt. Good luck. So that's what it would be with the Chiefs too, right? Their offensive line is trash. Tyreek Hill's getting older. Their depth at wide receiver is not good. Their defense is solid, but not great. But because they have the best quarterback in football, it doesn't freaking matter. He covers the holes. It doesn't matter because they're that bad, because he's that good, and the rest of the roster, even if you have a subpar roster, you have a quarterback that good, you can go far. I mean, they're not hosting the first team in NFL history to host the AFC Championship 3 years in a row without having that good of a quarterback, even though their roster has holes everywhere. Everyone's like, oh, the Broncos linebackers holes. The Broncos have a right tackle hole. If you have the quarterback, it doesn't freaking matter because they raise all ships.
It's true. They raise all ships. I absolutely love that. I'm gonna have to steal that. We should make that a hashtag that's going on. And speaking of hashtags, I got to let some Lock hate out because it's been too long. So here's the thing, Mr. Boggins. If Lock was the Chiefs quarterback, would I be worried? No, I'd be thrilled, and I would hope he got as much playing time as humanly possible, because that means the Broncos have a chance of getting an interception. No, that doesn't mean I hate Drew Lock, but that's just me answering the question just to be a little bit of a turd. But I want to hear from you guys. Who do you think Broncos country out there? I see MHH. The stream is popping, and I want to hear, who's your quarterback in this draft, and what are you willing to give up to go get him? I want specifics. I saw one in here, Nick, asking about Penny Sewell. Now, Penny Sewell has been mocked to fall at certain times due to the run on quarterbacks and that specific projection. I wrote an article on it, and I think it was Todd McShay that had the Broncos taking Penny Sewell. What do you think of Penny Sewell? Because I like him a lot. When I hear former offensive linemen like my guy Orlando, Big O, and Tyler Columbus saying, we love him, he's going to be a Hall of Famer, I'm not so sure about that. I don't love him the way that I loved Quentin Nelson coming out of Notre Dame. But what do you think of the big tackle out of Oregon, Penny Sewell, in a tackle that's really kind of being challenged for the best tackle right now? And I think our own Bawana Beast would certainly make that point as well.
Yeah, I like Penny Sewell a lot. I don't think that he is this pegged generational offensive tackle talent, right? Like, he's not Orlando Pace out there. He's not Jonathan Ogden. I think he would have been in there last year with the top 4 last season, right? Like, which is last year, there was 4 incredible offensive tackle talents. You don't see that very often. And the fact that 3 of them fell out of the top 10 still befuddles me. I don't understand it. But Andrew Thomas, Tristan Wirfs, who should have been an all-pro last year, one of the best right tackles in football. Go Hawks, absolutely incredible. Mekhi Becton looked awesome. And Jedrick Wills. Like, I thought I would put Penei Sewell up there with those guys. He's not better than those guys, though. Might be worse than those guys. And it also comes back to both those guys, Justin Herbert and Penei Sewell. Last time they played together, 2019. Here we go. Thank you, Travis. Oh, Travis. Love you, Travis. We're Travis and I go back, man. We've been on a Facebook group together for a long time, a small group.
Nice.
And thank you so much for the super, Travis. We appreciate you. Hope you're doing well down on YouTube. Hope your family's doing well, too.
Thanks, John.
Yes, Penei Sewell, right tackle. I think he'd help a lot. I do want to pivot, though, to Daniel Jeremiah had a really good comment here the other day talking with an offensive line coach in the league, and it's something that I think I've harped on for a long time. Offensive line is very valuable, obviously, but you're only as good as your weakest guy. So if you add an elite talent, that's great, but if you have a just absolutely terrible lineman out there, teams are going to isolate that guy and pick him to death. And it doesn't matter if you have an all-pro on the other side. Like, obviously that can help your offensive line, but if you have one weakness on your offensive line, the whole ship's going down, right? We're going back to boats, nautical terms here today, right? I saw the Washington Armada is one of the team names that they're talking about, so we might as well just go for it. But that's the offensive line. It's more about the quality of the depth and how good you are 5 across rather than individual talent on the offensive line. Obviously, it's easier if you have great guys, but I would rather have 5 Bs rather than 1 A and 4 Ds, right? Like, you need to be good across the line.
Nick, you just said something that I absolutely agree with, and I co-sign 100%. The team is only as good as their weakest link, and that link is linebacker, dude. Good Lord, I'm so sick of these guys. You know, Alexander Johnson, Josie Jewell, best guys ever, can't cover, I'm not going to say they can't play. They can play in the NFL. They've definitely shown that, and Josie Jewell deserves all the credit. But for me, I need a linebacker. You and I absolutely love 1,000,000+ linebackers in the first, second, and third round, fourth round. But we got some answers from some of the questions we're firing off. One from Todd saying, look, guys, Trey Lance is my quarterback I am pounding the table for in this draft. Why is it that he has the potential to come out and immediately improve the quarterback position with his athleticism? Give 2 firsts, 2 2s, and a 4. Ooh. Todd's in love. Because that tells me right there that Todd's like, look, this is my guy. I don't care what the cost is. Something that you and I harp on weekly, daily, every second of our life. I love it, Todd. Trey Lance, man. Trey Lance is the guy. Zach Kelperman wrote an article, Nick. I don't know if you saw on milehighhuddle.com. An anonymous GM came out and said, look, I think the Broncos are going after Trey Lance. Man, that's got to get Broncos country excited, right? Just reading Todd's take there has got us getting grinned and full of happiness and excitement.
I just want to correct you there. I don't think it was the Broncos are going after Trey Lance. It was more so that George Payton has his eyes on Trey Lance. So I'm not gonna lean too far into that. But we'll see what happens.
It's his baby. It's his baby now, though. Like, you know, it's not John's. And just to swing back real quick, I think John absolutely got gun shy, and that's why you didn't see any quarterbacks taken. I think, you know, and with good reason. I mean, he didn't want to hurt the franchise anymore. And I think that's, you know, it's tough. It's a tough position to be in. But Cliff Harris coming in the house with Trey Lance. Give the Falcons pick 9, your 2022 first, your 2022 third. It's a good deal. I absolutely love it. Cliff, another Trey Lance guy. I'm surprised I'm not seeing any Justin Fields guys yet in the house, Nick, because surprising. I feel like it's kind of taken 50-50 really between Trey Lance and Justin Fields, and I think Broncos country would be happy with either quarterback. But Mundungus Creevy, there he goes. He must have signed into his burner account with that Mike guy. I don't know who that guy was, but a $4.99 super. Appreciate you so much, brother. Luke, you should put some spinners on that Peloton bike, maybe a card in the spoke. I absolutely love it. I'm wearing those dorky little shoes that you got to click into, so I already feel like a fool. I actually put it in my bedroom. I don't know if that's weird or not. I think a lot of people have it, but I feel comfortable in there when I'm sweating like a pig and 70-year-old grandmas are passing me. So I appreciate that, Mundungus. Maybe those spinners, maybe that card would get me going a little bit quicker. But as we talk about workouts, Nick, a question I want to ask you. do you see the players that are expected to come in, the players that have announced that they will be coming into voluntary OTAs, as leaders of the team, or just guys that are there to get their work in and get paid, just professional business, if you will? Or would you demonstrate that as some sort of leadership among the players of Dalton Risner and Graham Glasgow?
I think it's probably a little bit of both, right? Like, I do think there's something to be said about those guys getting in and getting in the work, but you would hope that if they care about their craft and care about their future earnings, that whether they are in the facility or not, they're going to be getting in the work, right? And the fact that a lot of these players have a lot of money tied with coming in and getting in that work in the facility changes things. But I think by next season, this is going to change completely. And this is the point. I mean, this is what I've heard from, even a player, like he's saying, like, if this is mandatory, make it mandatory and pay us, right? Like that's the line. Like, am I going in on a Saturday when it's beautiful outside to go, create charts for a vaccine trials study when I'm not going to get paid for it?
No.
I mean, maybe I'll stay late, but
you're a good guy, right? You got a big heart. You're willing to donate some of your time to humanity, right?
I'm busy. I got things to do, right? I got things I want to do. And if you're going to pay me, that's a different conversation.
True.
But I just, things change. And when things do change, it's not about that the things change and you like, you can sit there and be sad about it and you'll complain, or you can think about how you can get a competitive advantage. And this even puts more on the teams getting the right character guys in there, right? Because you need dudes who are doing the right things outside of the facility. Yeah. If this is going to become more of a, you're not here. And every single year, the league changes, right? This is just another thing, incrementally changes over time. So if you have the right guys in there, it's not going to be worry. If you draft a bunch of guys who are lazy and not putting in the work, then you have problems. But that's maybe a different thing entirely for how you're drafting guys, evaluating guys, bringing in guys.
Well, and I have a personal opinion on it, but that doesn't matter. Yeah. I'm paid for like my professional opinion on this, my unbiased opinion on this. And I just want to get back to football, however that is. The players have concerns that are valid. They have the right to have those concerns. Fans have their own concerns and reasons for their frustrations that are definitely legitimate. And I hear those too. Nick, can we assume that the guys that are going to show up did not vote to not show up to the off-season workouts? Brandon McManus said himself, it wasn't not a unanimous vote. We're not going to get after the guys that are going to work out. We support them. We want them to, go get paid, do what you've got to do. But I've got a human brain in my head. I breathe oxygen. That tells me the guys that are going, they didn't vote for this.
Yeah. I mean, again, it's crazy. It's not crazy. The guys who showed up are for the most part, the guys who have money tied to them showing up for this. So we got David Bingham coming in here. David, we appreciate the comment. Nick, players chose game checks versus OTAs money. Give me a break. I'm not sure exactly what you're saying here, David, but I appreciate the comment either way.
David, expand. Get back to us on that one. Yeah. Go ahead, Nick.
But yeah, no, I mean, I think it's just the league is changing. What is it, 15 teams now that have said this?
Is it up to 15 already? Good Lord. It seems like it's going up by the day then. I thought last I had checked, it was like 7, dude. And now it's 15.
It's happening, right? This is just the game changing. And this is the teams and players and the players union. I mean, when JC Treader had the comment back in December saying the product was still great, we just saw a weird abbreviated offseason. We don't need to go back. Writing was on the wall, right? This was an inevitability. The fact that the Broncos were first is interesting to talk about, but they would have been next in line if not, right? Like, this is just the next step of player empowerment and the league changing. And if you want to be upset about it, that's fine. I look at it as, how can I get a competitive advantage? Because that's where it's going to be different. That's what's going to make the difference here going forward, because it's happening. Then you can be upset about it or, get ahead.
Yeah, I mean, if I want to be all old and grouchy about it, I could be like, well, look, you're grown men, figure it out. But at the same time, it's their job. It's, those guidelines were so strict last year. It's everybody has to get on the same page. And Brandon McManus left that door open. He's like, I think things could change. And we've obviously, gotten a reaction out of the NFL. So I think this will be fluid. And I think we'll see the players, hopefully, knock on wood, on the field sooner rather than later. But we've got Glenn Hauser coming in with another super chat. Appreciate you so much, Glenn. Very, very generous. $4.99. How many texts did you get, Nick, after the Broncos retweet? Also, can both of you guys give me your biggest surprise predictions for the draft as of now. Nick, did you get giddy when they retweeted that? I would have.
I was really busy at work, and then I looked at my phone about 2 hours later, and everyone's like, Nick, the Broncos retweeted you, or, check your phone. And I was like, what's going on? And that was the hopium I didn't need, right? Like I've been banging the drum for the Broncos to trade up for a quarterback since November, right? Yeah. And it's just how I view this quarterback class. The Drew Lock, put him in a box. Doesn't matter. It's just how talented these top 4 guys I perceive them. So once they did that, and they just gave me way too much hope. And I do think that the Broncos, if the Fields fell to 5, they would trade up without even thinking about it, 5 or 6. I mean, I think they're going to try to go up for Fields or Lance. Will they be there? We'll see. But God, I'm hoping. And then they just really ignited the flames there. I'm hoping.
So my biggest surprise prediction for the draft. I'm gonna throw this out there, and I've just been thinking about it for 10 seconds. So give me a break, make fun of me, do whatever you want to do. How about the Las Vegas? I almost called them Chokelands, but I didn't. How about the Las Vegas Raiders drafting Mac Jones?
Mm-hmm.
That's
an interesting one.
Weird, bizarre things that make no sense. That don't make no sense. That's the Raiders, right? I think Chucky has never met a quarterback he doesn't love, right? I mean, could we see Mac Jones going to the city of sin with Chucky and the Raiders? I don't know. What do you think, Nick? What's your most crazy, biggest surprise prediction that you would think could happen for the draft?
I think Penei Sewell is going to fall a little bit. I think he is extremely talented, but a lot of people have questions about his technique. And he played in a make-believe offense with Oregon. It was like last year or 2 years ago. We saw it with Justin Herbert too, right? There was a Maserati driving through a school zone, 25 miles an hour. Like, we're doing these bubble screens constantly thrown into the flat. Penei Sewell does not have many reps on tape where he's actually asked to pass block for a long period of time. So that's a question for him. And we don't have him on tape, the 20-year-old season from 2020. So I think Penei Sewell is actually going to fall. I do think he will be the second tackle off the board. I think Slater is actually going to go before Sewell. But I mean, I think Tevin Jenkins is a guy who actually might be drafted before Sewell. So I think Sewell's going to slide a little bit. I don't think he falls out of the top 10, but a lot of people talking like, oh, he's not going to get past 5 to Cincinnati. I think Sewell is going to fall a little bit.
That's got to be music to John's ears, because I know John is absolutely in love with the offensive tackles, and he's been keeping an eye on things as well. And it's been promoted already, so I just want to stay tuned. John's been absolutely rocking it. He's got all kinds of things going for MHH right now. So get up, Awana Beast, John K. MHH. He's Nick Kendell, at Nick Kendell. MHH, I'm Luke Patterson at Luke Patterson LP. This is the Mile High Insiders, and we are heading into our last few minutes of the show. And I'm seeing some comments. Here's Trevor, my boy Trevor. Love going back and forth with Trevor. Thank you so much for joining the show, bro. Hope you and yours are doing well. Look, guys, give me Fields. Great football skills. He's like a smaller Cam Newton. Look at what Shula did with Cam Newton. 2 firsts and a second. If you love him, go get him. I love it, Trevor. And I'm not even a big Justin Fields guy, but that gets me hyped because you're right. Yeah. Trevor, knowledgeable football man. He's clearly saying, look, Cam Newton, he loved Mike Shula, absolutely loved him. I wrote an article last week saying maybe Mike Shula's praised for a bigger role or being groomed for a bigger role with the Broncos. George Payton certainly leaning on him and trying to develop some of that trust. But here we go. I was just asking for some Justin Fields picks, and I got one. Trevor's in love with Justin Fields. Nick, I know Justin Fields is a guy that you like a lot as well. What would a Mike Shula be enticed with when looking at Justin Fields? You were at Missouri's Pro Day when Mike Shula was there watching Drew. What do you think Mike Shula thinks of Justin Fields, the Ohio State quarterback?
I mean, great athlete, pushes the ball vertically, super accurate, can operate out of shotgun. A lot of people go on and on about his first read. That's not what I see on tape. I see it's a lot of nuance with specifically the Ohio State offense and the option routes that they have. He has to hang on to that route because Ohio State, most of the time, their wide receivers are going to win. So if you hang on that route a little bit longer, you have a chance to make an explosive play, especially with Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave and Jeremy Ruckert. Ohio State has so much talent. But I think that I have no issue with it. I would love to go up for Justin Fields. And if he's there at 4, and I said, months ago, I would have traded up to 4 back in December because I have 4 quarterbacks that I love. And if any of them, I would take the last of them and I would be happy about it because I think you have a real chance to reset this, to pay the quarterback clock, give yourself a chance for a real franchise guy. And I view them all similar lights. So Shula specifically and Shermer, I think again, and this is also from what I've heard, I think Shula and Shermer actually are on the same page. I think they would love Justin Fields. I'm not sure how they feel about Lance. Hopefully I'm digging on that one. But I think they would both love Lance. I think he would fit either of their schemes, whether it be the Cam Newton scheme, what Shula did, where Cam Newton set the passing records, which were broken the next season by Andrew Luck, broke the passing records during Shula in 2011 with Cam Newton, where you had a guy who was obviously an athlete, could do a bunch of stuff outside the pocket, quarterback runs, quarterback zone reads. And then you have Shula also, who has run an 11 personnel, shotgun, quarterback making quick reads, ball accurate and in timing. I mean, I don't know if I'll say it. There's a lot of all this PR kind of stuff where the players are like, oh yeah, we love Drew Lock. We love Drew Lock. The weapons, and I'm not going to name any names. The weapons for Drew Lock and the Broncos last year, not as happy. Not as happy. I've asked around for multiple people, and I can verify the weapons specifically. Peyton, go get us a new quarterback. I know there's the PR, like Von Miller talking about, we're going to dance around the locker room with Trevor Siemian. The weapons are not as happy with Drew Lock in the quarterback situation right now. They're hoping for an upgrade. Just to drop that little nugget out there for you guys, because I asked around multiple people, and that's like, I'm not going to name names, but they're like, Drew Lock, I'm not super happy with him.
These are things that we knew last year, too, when Drew was getting challenged. And I'm just going to say it. And if you don't believe me, go ahead. Drew's getting challenged after the game by defensive players, by offensive players. It's no longer the Aqib Talib telling Russell Okung to sit the F down. It's no longer that. It's guys coming up to their young quarterback saying, look, you can dance the young Jeezy. How about no more interceptions? How about
You're costing me money.
Yeah. How about we step up? You're wasting my years. And I don't know, man. It's going to be interesting to see, but we got Seth coming in here, and I'm going to try to say this on air because I always get nervous. So I'm going to take this super, $4.99 super. At what pick is Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah? Is value good for the Broncos? Absolutely killed it. Nick, I'm going to take this one for me. I like JOK a little bit more as that safety linebacker hybrid as opposed to the traditional linebacker that's going to be in the box. The only reason is because of his size. I love this kid's motor. I love his fundamentals. He has an outstanding football acumen as well. You don't hear a bad thing about JOK. I don't know where he's going to be at. Man, just such a different linebacker when you're comparing a JOK and a Micah Parsons in terms of, physicality, game film. What do you make of JOK? Where do you see him being taken? Possibly the Broncos at 9 or even later if they trade back?
I think probably around pick 20 is when I would start to be interested in JOK. He is very much a Swiss Army knife, but he feels like a little bit of a luxury. He's not a clean fit for this defense. Like, is he going to actually replace Alexander Johnson or Josie Jewell? I can't see that, but Dane Brugler and Lance Zierlein, who are as connected as anybody in the draft community, have said that JOK played at like 205 last year. That's Darius Leonard's the only guy, and Darius Leonard has like 35-inch arm length. So that's a different type of beast. So JOK, the big thing I am interested in is if they did bring in JOK, are the Broncos running to a 4-2-5 base? We've seen it in college, and college is typically it's the predecessor for innovation, right? Like, things innovate bottom up in football. So we're seeing more spread concepts over and over again. And Vic Fangio has been one of the best in football at innovation and being ahead of the curve. Even though he's an old guy, very good defensive mind. Thank you very much, Trevor. I love Browning as well.
Me too, dude. I would even take him in the first round just to get that 50-year option on Baron Browning if you traded really, really late.
Yeah, he's in my top 25.
Yeah, dude, he's a gangster. I'm just going to say it, dude. I love Baron Browning, but Nick, I'm going to push back, dude. Vic Fangio, 0-7 in the month of September, man. Are we ever going to get a victory there? I mean, and that's interesting that you bring that up about Vic Fangio and the multiple fronts that maybe you would see with a JOK. I like the way you described him. It's not a way I've heard it a lot. He's a luxury. I like that a lot. I think that best describes him. But do you think Vic Fangio is really willing to mix up schemes too much? I mean, he's kind of set in his ways. Now I'm curious. You got me thinking. I want to go research how many times, if any, he's used those fronts.
Well, the Broncos were interested in Joe Schobert a couple years ago, who is a lighter linebacker and not very good at the point of attack. Roquan Smith, not always the best at the point of attack either. So the Broncos are going to more of a 4-2-5 base and then using a lighter linebacker when they go to true sub packages. That's something that I could see. So thank you, Dylan. I never had faith in Haskins. Haskins and Rosen are the big reasons I'm not in on Mac Jones, right? Pocket quarterbacks with, milquetoast arms. I'm not in. They have to be Tom Brady.
How dare you? He does not have he doesn't have a noodle arm. It's not the best thing ever. Mac Jones apologist. Here we go. Noodle arm.
It's average. It's you have to bring something to the table outside of the system, whether that be an elite arm or athleticism. And I don't see that with either. And if Mac Jones, and also here's the interesting thing.
How about this? This Kyle Shanahan, if he loves Mac Jones, it's because of this. It's not because of that arm.
Yeah.
It's because he's like, yo, this guy's going to understand everything that my dad throws at him when I'm not busy yelling at somebody else. It's interesting, but you're right, Nick. I'm hesitant towards Mac Jones too. He's very more, I don't want to say one dimensional, but you got to have a quarterback that can move, right?
Yeah. I mean, he has to be Tom Brady, Peyton Manning level intelligence pre-snap and post-snap for him to work with his limited tools, right? Like, I just never bought the 49ers connection to him. And if he is the pick, God bless. Thank you, 49ers. The 49ers Twitter is going to be hilarious to see what happens from there. But
I hope we're on air at the same time for that, because I know, and more to come. MHH community. Chad is super busy right now figuring out our draft schedule. But like last year, we will have draft coverage with multiple shows and multiple guys going. But Nick, dude, I want to be there because I want to see your reaction, because I just think you're going to be so happy, and I think we're all going to be so happy, and it's going to be dope. But speaking of dope, Glenn Hauser's always dope, appreciating everything that we do, just like we appreciate MHRT and everything those guys do. $4.99 super. Look, Nick, do you guys think that players show up and they'll be treated like they crossed the picket line, so to speak, or do you think that there are no hard feelings among teammates? That's a really good question, Glenn. I like that.
It's business. The guys know, the players that have money tied to going in and working out in the facility, go get your money, right? These guys support each other going and getting their money. They understand that it is a business and you got to make what you can while you can. So, if these guys didn't have it, I don't know if they'd be there. They'd still be doing their own thing at home, you'd hope. But I don't think any of the teammates are going to care if guys are going in and working out. Good for them. It's just more of I think it's just more the players taking more power, which good for them, because again, I think the teams themselves in the NFL does a really good job painting these players as lazy or not putting in the work. It's millionaires paying billionaires. I don't have an issue with the players taking more power.
Here's the thing that I wonder. I wonder if this is going to piss Vic Fangio off. Because we've seen Coach have a tendency to hold a little bit of a grudge with players like Michael Ojemudia, who I still don't agree with that. And Nick, I love to give you crap for Iowa, but I like Michael Ojemudia a lot. I think he got kind of a bit of a raw deal last year with the whole tackling. He did fine, dude. I mean, like some 50-50 balls against some great receivers. He's not going to win those every time. Yeah. But I like Michael Ojemudia a lot. I just wonder if Vic Fangio's – dude, I'll say this. This is how I'll sum it up. Do not come into that building out of shape, because Lauren Landau, he's going to be upset. Vic Fangio is going to freak out on you. I mean, that's just the way it's got to be, because the one thing I'll say, I appreciate Brandon McManus having the respect and the courage and doing the right thing to calling Coach Vic Fangio and saying, look, Coach, this is what's going on. I'm the player rep. I'm not showing up on Monday. And I respect that. I respect that a lot, but I do wonder a little bit if Coach, in his old school ways, in his own personal opinion, we're all humans, if he will possibly look a little bit sideways at some of these players that may not be showing up that he really, really wants here.
I mean, it's like you're going from high school to college in education style. Like you're giving those guys, like in high school, you work through things tediously, one by one. In college, it's like, here are the slides, figure them out. And you better come to the next lecture knowing what's going on. So that's essentially what it is. You better put in the work outside of the facilities, because we're expecting you to be at the same position as you would have been if you had done the work in the facilities. So we got Madungas coming in here. Jake Paul or Ben Askren. I don't know what this is exactly about.
Boxing match tonight. So you got celebrity boxer, right? And I've been trying to learn about this Jake Paul thing, because I grew up in love with boxing and then transitioned to MMA a little bit. And I don't watch as much of it as I used to, just because I'm a football junkie and that's all that's in my veins. But it's kind of like a YouTube star against an MMA fighter, and they're going to be boxing. I think there's a big purse on the line. I'm going to take Ben Askren just because I want to see Paul just get his butt whooped. He's an arrogant He's just awful. He can't sell a fight the way you should sell a fight. So I'm going Ben Askren, but the size difference is so bizarre too. So I'm not sure. That's a really good question, Mundungus. I like that. So throwing us some curveballs. But Nick, I think we've got a couple more supers we've got to get to before we get out of the show. One of them coming from a very personal and good man, a friend of ours, Mohammed Badri, with a 199 super. And I'm not sure that's a mic. Yeah, yes. So drop the mic moment. We've had a great show with some of these comments from some of these cats in the section. Absolutely crack me up. Mo has always got me smiling. Mike is always supporting me and you. Glenn Hauser in the house. CC coming in with, Jake Paul's got a real shot. Rooting for Askren 100%. It's just interesting to see the way sports sometimes a guy gets so vilified, right? And we see this in football too. Sometimes you're seeing this with the fans right now. Like Brandon McManus for some people is public enemy number one. And I can't for the love of the good Lord figure out why. Have your opinion, but don't ever take it personal, guys. This is football. We just all want to get them back to being on the gridiron.
Yeah, I mean, things get substantially more toxic the further we get from actual contention, right? Like, we just need to get good football back in Denver. It's been 5 years. A lot of it is related to the Broncos' inability to find the quarterback position. There obviously are, somebody earlier said, Nick, explain the Chargers or the Texans last year. Quarterback can't get it done by themselves, but your odds of getting it done without a quarterback are slim. And if you have the ability to get it done without a quarterback, good luck in your one season, because it's going to come crashing back to the mean after
2015.
That. Yeah. 2015. 2017 Bears or 2017 Jags, 2018 Bears, San Francisco just 2 years ago. What did San Francisco, right? They were just in the Super Bowl and they're like, wow, if we don't have a quarterback, we're effed. We better go, just trade everything to go get a quarterback. Because if you don't have the guy, you're done.
How about Sean?
Not happening.
You're exactly right, Nick, and that's a great example. And how about who else was playing in the Super Bowl, not too long ago with Sean McVay, right? To McVay and the Rams, they had to go get themselves another quarterback. So something that we're starting to see, Nick, you're exactly right. You don't got the quarterback, you ain't got nothing. And Glenn Hauser coming in with a 499 super. The tidbits that you guys have dropped tonight have been unbelievable. Thank you for an awesome hour. #damn. Appreciate you, Glenn. I'm not going to speak for Nick here, but I like to try to give Lassie barks when I can. And Nick, I think you do too. And you do a really good job of it on Twitter. And when you see some guys like our guy James Palmer or DJ or Zerline or some of these guys saying some things, keep an eye on it. These guys don't just say things for no reason. Keep an eye on some of the other friendly media sessions in Denver, including KOA, the Fan. Those guys are very close to the team as well. Troy Rank, an excellent resource. Mike Kliss, someone we're always watching. But yeah, those tidbits, they're out there, Nick. And some of them we can never release. And that's the hardest part. But I absolutely loved tonight's show. Josh Trujillo saying good evening, Broncos country. And we're starting to wrap it up. I think we've got one more super sticker. Oh, no. That was Mr. Boggins from earlier. We're good. We're good. So 708, guys, you guys have let us know. Justin Fields and Trey Lance, you really, really like. Have not seen a Mac Jones in there. That's okay. I'll take it. And it seems like you guys are good with the Broncos coming into voluntary OTAs on Monday, something that we will definitely keep an eye on. Nick, what do you got going on for the rest of your weekend? I understand the Huddle Up Boys will be on tomorrow night at 6 p.m. Mountain. What will Nick Kendell be getting into? Because it looks like you're settled into the new place.
Starting to be. We're going to paint one of the walls. It's got a ugly yellow color, so the wife's working on that. I'm probably going to go pick us up some dinner. We live by Green Lake now, which is a beautiful area of Seattle, so hopefully could take advantage of the 80-degree weather today because, man, beautiful. Mountains in every direction. Mount Baker was even out today, which is pretty far north. So going to go take advantage of that. And, man, I'm just – how many more sleeps until the draft? It can't come soon enough. I'm so excited for it to come here. So God, just let it get here. But we appreciate everybody joining us tonight. How to Summit like the new pad. He has a yard for the first time, and every morning it's about a 3-mile circumference around the lake. I'll take him on a walk there, and then we'll go run around in the backyard. And he'll be really funny. He'll run around like a psychopath, and then he'll just put on the brakes and take care of his morning business. So he's never had a yard before, never had a chance to do that. So it's nice. It's been a good time. He really enjoys it. He's a COVID dog, and he turns 1 on, the 21st. So he's getting big quick. I'm really excited about that. Trying to take advantage, move in here, and get ready. I'm going to be doing, like I said, a backpacking trip a month from now, in the Olympic Peninsula. So I'm really excited for that.
Me too, dude. I'm pumped to hear it. Got the Peloton bike because I want to start mountain biking a little bit more this summer. And I told you I wanted to start fly fishing and doing some different stuff outdoors. So definitely got to be in shape to do that. But Nick, dude, this hour goes by so fast. Absolutely love wrapping ball with you. And more news to come from Mile High Huddle, guys. Be sure to get at milehighhuddle.com for all of your up-to-date Broncos news, rumors, everything that you want to hear. Draft analysis. We've got prospects that are under the radar right now. I'm writing, Nick's writing. Get at Twitter at Mile High Huddle. He's at Nick Kendell MHH. Get at our producer at John K MHH. John does so much great work behind the scenes that we just can't thank him enough for all of his support. If you are on Facebook, smash that like button, subscribe to us on YouTube, Spotify, wherever you guys get your podcasts. And if you want a fancy hat like Nick's got right now, like I've got right now, go to huddleuppod.com and get your swag on. And I think that's a wrap for MHI on Saturday night. Nick, every day brings new news. We will have to figure out where the Broncos go tomorrow, see what's happening with the ones that are showing up Monday. Guys, stay tuned. Huddle Up Podcast coming up tomorrow at 6 p.m. He's Nick. I'm Luke saying go Broncos.
Go Broncos, boys. Stay safe.